would you please welcome to the stage Rob Harris?
Well, I've been invited tonight to acknowledge a Lifetime Achievement Award. And that Lifetime Achievement Award is for Johnny Allen. I was asked to say a few words, but after consulting with a number of people from the events industry, it became quite a few words. One of whom was David Grant, who I had to actually buy a drink for, and he told me a lot of things, but unfortunately I can't share them with you. Let's start at the beginning. Medicine was Johnny's initial career choice. His first year, however, being a bit of a slow learner, it dawned on him that this might actually mean dealing with large amounts of blood and coming into contact with various body parts that good vegetarians, as he is, generally avoid at all costs. It was at this point that he decided to swap the stethoscope for life and cultural events and the running sheet. And the Australian event industry has been grateful of that change. To try and capture his career to date is not an easy task, and we might start perhaps in more recent times. He's the Foundation Director and Projects Director at the moment for the Australian Centre for Event Management. He was the Director of the Australian Centre for Event Management up until 2005. He is also the Director of a toy museum in Carcoar in the Central West with his partner Warwick. He was Manager, Special Events for Tourism New South Wales, Events Manager at Darling Harbour, and we were chatting before, and probably not a person here, or certainly most of us, would have either attended an event that Johnny put on, or perhaps have been to an event which he conceived in Darling Harbour, because a lot of the events which he came up with are still, to this day, taking place. He was Bicentennial Coordinator for Newcastle, Director of the Matara Festival, Director of Altogether Now Entertainment Agency, Director of the Paris Theatre in Sydney, which, as a matter of interest, was a punk venue, which might tell you a little bit about his origins. And one of the acts was called Johnny Dole and the Scabs. Very, very imaginative. He was Project Officer for the Festival Canberra in 1975, Manager of the Arts Factory, Cultural Director of the Australian Union of Students, and we'll come back to that, and Trainee Producer with the Australian Broadcasting Commission. The highlights in his career, well, there were certainly quite a few. He co-developed the Australian Event Award-winning programs in event management at the University of Technology, Sydney, and he teaches those all around the world, including London, Edinburgh, Taipei, Singapore. He devised and implemented a whole-of-government strategy for the New South Wales Government as Manager Special Events for Tourism. He managed the major events program for Tourism New South Wales, including government involvement and support with successful bids such as the Rugby World Cup. He created Sydney hallmark events for Tourism New South Wales, including Feast of Sydney, Food and Wine Festival, and Sydney Harbour Jazz Festival. He positioned Darling Harbour as a place where Sydney celebrates, which it still to this day is. The Nimbin Festival, let's come to that. Now, those of you who are at the Nimbin Festival, or think you were, weren't, because if you were, you would not be able to remember it. This event demonstrated a number of firsts in the area of event management. One was in the area of food provision. The approach Johnny adopted was to fill up a truck, go to the Brisbane markets, fill up a truck full of food, return it, spread it on the floor of an empty building, ask people to take what they wanted and pay what they thought was fair. Once the food was all gone, he'd simply go to the markets again in Brisbane, and so it went on. I think we've gone a little bit further than that particular approach. He has toured Ralph Nader in Australia when he worked for Australian Union of Students, and also Spike Milligan. In his spare time, He was National Performing Arts Manager. In his spare time he wrote a number of publications. The National Performing Arts magazine, Arts in Australia, major textbooks in event management that use Australia and internationally, and the Regional Event Management Handbook. His positions in industry include, or have included, Co-Chief of Judges for the Australian Event Awards, Board Member of the Australian Centre for Event Management, and Major Events Committee, Tourism New South Wales, Centenary of Federation Events Committee from 1997-98, and it goes on. The last one I've listed here is the Australian Entertainment Industry Mo Awards Committee member, which goes back to 92. As you would expect with that sort of a CV, he's been noticed, and he was awarded membership of the Order of Australia for his services to the event industry and event education in 2007. He was also inducted to the Hall of Fame of the New South Wales Festival and Events Association in 2001. Outside of this, however, what makes Johnny worthy of this award, above perhaps a lot of other things that I've mentioned, is his lack of ego, his willingness to mentor and support. In many ways, he's a quiet achiever whose contribution to whatever endeavour he's engaged in demands respect. My friend, congratulations, and if you'd like to come up on stage.
Thank you, Rob. I was thoroughly tricked. This is totally unexpected. Rob asked me for my CV a couple of days ago, supposedly because there was a UTS journalist that wanted to do a little story on what we've been doing, and could I provide the CV? So it is totally out of the blue. As co-judge of the awards, I'm pretty familiar with the process, but this must have been sneaked in behind my back. So it is a great honour, and it's a real pleasure to receive this award tonight with so many acquaintances and friends that I've made through the years in this industry. As Lena said, this industry becomes your life, it becomes your family, it becomes your friends, and I think the connections in this room tonight are a great demonstration of that. I'm 70 next year. And I'm beginning to the Nimbin Festival celebrates its 40th anniversary next year. And it's quite interesting because out of the woodwork now, all these people are coming out who I haven't spoken to for many years, and it's caused me to reflect a little bit on that event, which John Trevelyan was kind enough to describe at one stage as a seminal youth culture event in Australia. It wasn't seen quite that way at the time. Back then, the newspaper headline that comes to mind is 10,000 hippies riot, police beaten, which I still have in my scrapbook. But we were all cowboys. The risk management strategy at that point in time, I shudder to tell you, but I'm also pleased to say that nobody died at the festival, as far as I know. There was a baby born on closed-circuit television in the first town ever to be wired up for closed-circuit television on the opening day of the festival to an amazing lady called Mary Marvel. So we were already one up, and we didn't lose any more as the festival went on. So it's been great thinking back on that. My sort of recollection as I approach that venerable age is that there's a saying that history is written by the victors. My reading of this is history is written by those old codgers who stay around long enough to tell the tale. So thank you very much.